The Greater Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wiegand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus, the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers from miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to 4-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
We're in an unusual location this afternoon for our Greater Centerville Historian meeting, and maybe Richard can enlighten us and give us his identification too, please.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. We're going to have a village walk, or ride today, I should say, on this very nice wagon here, and we're going to go up and down Washington Street, West Washington, and probably Hickory, and whatever else we can fit in.
Okay.
And today's the 14th of June. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. We have a few rules. Don't speak out of turn. When Jerry calls, you can raise your hand, and if you have a question or a comment to make, Jerry will come and he'll get your name and you make your comment. And while other people are talking, please keep it down or don't talk too much so that it doesn't interfere with the recording of what that person is saying.
Okay.
Anything else I need to?
Okay, I guess from my end, maybe I'll just cut right here for just a moment. A lady who'd like to say a few words and identify herself also.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and it's June 14th, and it's Flag Day today.
Oh yes, that's right.
And we have a beautiful day today, but we have had many, many inches of rain. Anybody know how many inches of rain? We'll think about that. It's been a very wet year.
Okay.
So, and one other thing, refrain from using nicknames. Try to use full names so that in later years that they can identify who the person was.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and from my end of it, this evening for the introduction of the people that are attending this evening, we'd like to have give their age and, and also maybe their present occupation and identify themselves too, please. So I'll even start with you again, Kathy.
Okay, I'm Kathy Sixel, and I'm 39 again and again and again and again and again. And I'm retired.
You're retired.
And again and again would be 67.
67, very good. Okay, thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Charlie Bauer from Newton. I'm retired. I'm 59.
Okay, very good. And who do you have here, please?
Armin Keeter from Manitowoc. I'm here for the Manitowoc County Historical Society, and I'm 84.
84. Wonderful. Glad to have you aboard, sir, and thank you for coming. And who do you have here, please?
My name is Sarah Johnson, and I am the Executive Director of the Manitowoc County Historical Society, and I'm 25.
25. Well, welcome aboard. We appreciate you coming too. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Dorothy Anderson from Cleveland.
Okay.
And I'm 86.
86. Very good. Thank you, Dorothy. And who do you have here, please?
Dolores Kraft. I'm from Cleveland.
Yes.
I'm 80.
You're 80 years old. Thank you for coming. Thank you. And I'll pan over here a little bit, and we've got a gentleman here. Right ahead, please.
I'm Walter Chris from Cleveland. I'm 84.
Thank you for coming, Walter. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Marie Pippert in the midst of all these young kids. I'm 90.
90. And just a spark plug at that, okay. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Irene Nye, I'm 73, and I'm retired.
You're retired too, okay. That's right, we didn't get all the occupation, but I can assume a couple things here. And Richard, I'll have you just give us that little bit of information also.
I'm Richard Wiegand. I'm 55, going on 56, and I will never retire.
You'll never retire, okay.
I can't afford to retire.
And my name is Jerry O'Neill, and I'm 67, and I'm retired, and I'm doing a little videoing on the side, you might say, and I enjoy this very much with the historical group. It's a place that you can learn and still enjoy it. So we'll continue with a trip this evening down the street, and Mr. Bauer, I believe, has volunteered to drive his vehicle for us, nice and slow.
Nice and slow.
Nice
yes.
and slow. And
I just need directions. Somebody's got to tell me where to go.
And what I need from everybody is when we're parked along the street in some areas, we'd like to talk about the buildings that are there, and we want to go back in a little bit in history who the previous owners might have been for that same building, or if a new building was erected in its place, or if there's a vacant lot, if there was something there in the past that we should know about, and if you can describe it or have a picture, we'd also appreciate that. And because they were out in the open air, I'd like to have everybody speak very loudly when they're being talked to, and we'll park exactly so you can, I'll be right at your ear almost, and we'll converse about the building or whatever we are seeing along the route. So I guess we can begin at this moment. Thank you. Stopped at a facility or a building that has some history to it, and this gentleman will identify himself, please.
Richard Wiegand, and I'll start the discussion. I don't know quite as much about it, but this building here, which is now looks like a duplex, used to be a chicken house. It was built as a poultry house by Gilbert Baylitz, I think in the late 1950s, and it was operating in the 60s, maybe most of the 60s, and it was later converted into an apartment building. And I know Alan Crocht, who's one of our neighbors down the road there with the Jersey farm. He lived in here before he got married. He was living in here, and I think my brother helped load chickens once here when they had to put them on a truck or something like that.
Now, the purpose of the chickens, did they start them out with small chicks or hatching eggs?
I don't know if they were broilers or what they were, but the other people here probably know more than I do what was in there. So.
Very good, thank you. A gentleman here who will identify himself, and he probably can add more history. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Walter Kress. We're on Marshall Street, and this used to be a poultry processing plant.
Okay.
My wife worked there.
All right.
They butchered the chickens. Harry Vogel was real big in that. He did the butchering, and the women used to clean them.
Okay, and your wife's name again?
Florence Kress.
Florence worked there. And what did she do for her occupation?
In here?
Yes.
I don't know. Pluck the feathers.
Pluck the feathers.
I really don't know.
Now, did they have a big operation here?
Yes, it was quite a big operation.
And this went all year round?
Most of the year.
Okay. Okay, and did they house the chickens or just have them shipped in, or how did it?
They raised some and had some shipped in.
Okay.
I think it was about a weekly affair.
Okay. And
pack them up and send them to Manitowoc.
They sent them to Manitowoc? Do you remember where they went?
I don't know where they went.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. This lady would like to identify herself and add some information, please.
I'm Marie Pippert. I just remember going in there and buying just like chicken legs. And I remember Rona Schmidt worked there too.
Okay.
Yeah. But we went in there often to buy chicken.
So they didn't always sell to the big customers. They would sell to anybody that walked in the door.
I remember it was always wet on the floor, on the cement wall. They had to keep it clean.
Yes. Okay. And the entryway was as we see it, or where did?
It went in from this side, so. Yeah. I would say, yeah.
Okay. And the person that owned it, was it a partnership, an individual, or a corporation, or what?
Know. Was he alone, Gilbert? I think he was alone. Yeah.
Okay.
Gilbert.
And how old would he have been when he owned this?
Oh, man. I have no idea. He wasn't just too old. He was middle aged then.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone who will identify himself, please.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. I wanted to add something else about Baylitz in general. They had several businesses here. Gilbert Baylitz did in the village of Cleveland.
Okay.
One was this poultry operation. One was a feed mill.
All
they
right.
had a hardware store, and I think an implement dealership with it. And also they ran. He had one. Maybe his father had something to do with the canning, the original canning company down here. They were founders of that Reformed church, I think, too. Was a Baylitz family. I'm not sure.
I think so, yeah. They were the Baylitz family belonged to it, at least.
And anyway, they are descendants of the founders of Kiel. Baylitz, the Baylitz family came from northern Germany, and they were the founders of Kiel, and one of the grandchildren or sons or something like that came to Cleveland here and then started all kinds of businesses here in the village.
Okay. Now, a question would be is how long did the business run, and what curtailed it or
This particular one?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. My guess is it ran about 12 or 15 years, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, you know.
Okay.
It just may have been economics.
Okay.
People started businesses and then they stopped for some reason.
Sure.
Either they got out of it or, you know. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you. young lady who'd like to say a few words and identify herself, please.
I'm Irene Dine, and I think I remember when I started working at Yost, that would have been in 1970. This was then an apartment house because the owners did business.
Okay.
And that would have,
So that would have been the termination of the chicken.
somewhere between 69, 60, you know.
All right. Very good. Thank
then
you.
it was into an apartment.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Who came a little bit late on board, but we're glad to have her aboard, and she'd like to say a few words.
I'm Alice Mathias. I'm sorry I'm late, but my husband was a little slow at getting going. We came home from up north.
I see.
And anyhow, I'm I'm old, 77.
Okay.
And I'm retired.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming aboard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we just left Westview Street and have turned now onto West Washington Avenue, heading to downtown Cleveland and stopping along the way to preview and give a historical review of the buildings that are on the streets. Thank you. Okay, this is our vehicle for the evening that we're using to go through the village of Cleveland in what they call a village walk, but with a ride, which is much easier for everyone. Okay, we're looking at a home that's we can talk about and has apparently some historical review. Someone who will identify himself and indicate the street we're on and what we're about to talk about.
Richard Wiegand, we're on West Washington and Cleveland, Wisconsin, on the corner of Westview Street.
Okay.
And I'll make a correction on the Baylitz thing I was talking about before. It was Wallace Baylitz who owned the hardware case dealership in Cleveland.
Okay.
And Gilbert also had an airplane which he landed in Cleveland, where the Cleveland Elementary School is today, and he used to give people rides. He had his own private plane.
Okay.
A couple of additions.
People that went to Rutherford's to eat. They would fly in, he'd fly them in.
Oh, okay. I'm told here that he would fly people in for people to eat at Rutherford's, our hotel, motel down here in the lakeshore.
Okay. Very good.
Regarding this, what we call the Taple House over here, there's a fellow named Berge who lives here now, and he's been there a long time. But this house was originally owned by William R. Taple. And he was a Litzy relative. He was a Mason, and we're talking turn of the century, early 1900s. I know that his wife was an invalid for many years. She was in a wheelchair, and he built some buildings on our farm west of here. My dad pointed our pig barn was built by William R. Taple, and I think even the smokehouse and the milk house, and he may even been in charge of putting the foundation under our barn in 1898.
Okay.
I think it goes back that far.
Now his name was very prominent in the village of Cleveland.
Yeah, he was William R. Taple. There was a William H. Taple who owned the Taple hardware store. That was my dad's uncle.
Okay.
They are not related.
All right.
As far as we can tell, we've been doing years of research on the Taples, and I'm in touch with descendants of both, and we have not been able to connect them. And they were only living like a mile apart on Union Road at one point when they came over from Germany.
Okay. And how long has he been dead? Do you have that?
I don't remember. He was old when he died. Might have been 80-something when he died, but I don't remember. Was it in the 30s or 40s? Marie?
I don't know. I can't remember.
After the 50s.
Oh, after the 50s.
After the
okay.
50s.
Okay.
Or it could be in the 50s.
In the 50s, maybe. Okay.
And then I think Bob Lorfeld lived in that house too. Bob and Bernetta Lorfeld lived there.
You can add that if you want.
Okay, I'll go over there in just 1 minute. Lady who will identify herself, and she has some more information about the house in the background.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and the Taple House later was occupied by Bob and Bernette Lorfeld.
Okay.
And later they went up north. He was a manager for a cooperative, and they went up north. And today, Bob is deceased, and Bernette lives in Manitowoc.
Okay. What was his occupation somewhere in Cleveland?
Yeah, he worked at the co-op at Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Anybody else that have lived there since?
Well, just I know Jim Burgess now, but otherwise I don't know anybody else. Maybe Jim Burgess bought it from Orfeld's already. I can't ever remember somebody else. Can you? No, we think that's probably who occupied the home.
Thank you. Will identify himself and indicate some information. Go right ahead, please.
Armand Keeter. I'm wondering whether the information I hear from the Taples are connected with the Taples, who Ted, who was a butcher in Howard's Grove, and his son Carl.
Yes, I can
thank you.
clear that up.
Okay, very good. Good question. Thank you. Good, thank you. That's your home in Howard. Yeah, would you indicate that, please, where you did live?
I was born and raised just a few miles from Howard's Grove.
Okay. In which direction did you live?
South to what was then the little town of Millersville.
Okay.
And then a mile to the west was our farm.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Who was going to answer a question that was brought about? Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, Richard Wiegand. Armand asked if Ted Taple was connected to William R. Taple, and in fact, that's correct. Ted was his son. Ted was born here, and he got into that butcher shop in Howard's Grove. And I know a little bit about the butcher shop because that was originally started by a Nordholz from my mother's side. Diedrich Nordholz Jr. started that butcher shop in 1890, something like that, and in the early 1900s he moved up to Simcoe, Wapaka, someplace up in that area.
Okay.
And then there's been a series of owners. But Ted Taple and another fellow, I forget his name, they were, I think, co-owners for many, many years.
Okay. Now, the Taple apparent name has been prominent in the past. Is there any of them left yet?
Yes, Ted Taple's son Carl lives in Sheboygan. Has been, or still is, an alderman. He was the principal of the Lutheran High School, and he's traveled a lot. He's got a PhD. He's a very educated fellow.
Okay.
And I meet him occasionally. Of course, he's a cousin to us.
Okay.
I'm related to all the Taples.
Okay.
One way or another.
Very good.
Even though the Taples aren't related to each other.
Okay, very good. Thank you. To identify herself, and she's got some information. Go right ahead, please.
Dorothy Anderson, and Teddy Taple used to come around on Saturdays with the meat wagon, and everybody, oh, here's Teddy, and it, you know, you go out there, or otherwise you ordered it ahead, or he was there and you could go out to this wagon and see what meat you wanted. And I don't know the years on that. Do you know it?
It was after 50.
More information? Go right ahead, please.
Instead of a wagon, actually, it was a truck that he'd come around and have that meat in there.
Okay.
But I was thinking it was before 50s too, because I was still home and he'd come, unless I was home from the weekend or something.
Okay, but he'd just make his rounds through the village, is that right? And
yeah, I guess you'd, on Saturdays, he'd there.
Okay.
Drive into the driveway and old Teddy's here, and we go out there and get, I mean.
What else called him Teddy?
Yeah,
Okay.
Teddy's here.
Very good, thank you. By yourself?
I'm Walter Kress, and you're talking about Mr. Taple. He and my father-in-law laid the blocks for our house, which was about 1951. And I got another story about him. He drove a Hudson car.
Yes.
And we ground the valves on it. When we ground the valves, we found out the original governor was still in the car. It never went over 45 miles an hour.
It was restricted in speed, huh?
It was restricted in speed. So he must have never gone over 45 miles an hour.
Safe driver of the time. Thank you very much, Wally. A bit more information, and the gentleman will identify himself.
Richard Wiegand. I got a chance to visit with Ted before he died, and then when I started doing my genealogy work, I visited with his wife, Roma Taple. She was a Quayle. Her last name was Quayle.
Okay.
And she was I believe, the granddaughter of the first minister of the two Lutheran churches in the village of Cleveland here in the 1860s.
Okay.
I think she was a granddaughter, but she was a descendant of that minister.
Okay.
And it's listed on the church registry. He was the first minister of the two, the one St. Johannes and St. Peter.
Springling?
Before Springling. There was a couple in between there yet, I think, or one of them.
Okay.
He was the first one, 1860s.
Okay, thank you. Very good. We've got a house, I believe, that's on, I'm going to guess here, a little bit Western Avenue. And there is some history to that home. It's in this area at the corner of West Washington and Western Avenue. Continuing here at the same spot that we've been at talking before, and this gentleman will identify himself.
Richard Wiegand. We're talking about the house over here on Westview. You can't see it real well behind the trees here, but that was the doctor's house and office. Doc Fighter was in there, I think, from 1949 or 50 for about 10 years. He died in 1959 at the age of 39 of a heart attack while he was in church. Yeah. 59.
56.
No, 59.
59?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You're sure?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we can discuss that. Anyway. And anyway, Doc Fighter was, I remember him for a lot of pains in the butt. I was sick a few times when I was young. I had a lot of problems with my sinuses, and they used to routinely give penicillin in those days. So I always dreaded coming down here to visit Dr. Fighter, but he saved my life, I'm sure.
Okay.
And he did not deliver me. He delivered my three younger Wiegans in Sheboygan Memorial Hospital, but I had a different doctor. So I was born in '48. Fighter wasn't here yet at that time.
Okay.
One story I heard was that William H. Taple financed him to get started. The Taple Hardware, my dad's uncle, he had a lot of money. And I heard that he lent him $40,000. It seems like a lot of money for, at that time. But I don't know where the number came from. My dad wasn't sure, but that's what he had heard.
Did he build it?
Fighter built it. Yeah. And then after Fighter, I'm not sure who was in there, but I know that there was a Nerodi. Kevin was his name?
Yeah.
He was a dentist, and I used to go there for dental work. He was the son of the head of Lakeshore Technical College, whatever his title was, the president. The dean, okay, the dean. And then after that, there was another dental service in here, what do they call them, Lakeshore? Shoreline Dental. Shoreline Dental, and that was Robert Klesick was a dentist in Manitowoc, and I've met him a few times.
And Dr. Allison.
And Dr. Allison, okay, they were in this, and now this is just a private residence.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Anybody else have anything? Just one second. I'll be right there. Like to say a few words?
I'm Alice Mathias. I have to be, I'm not sure about this, but didn't Fighter start out in the Schilke house?
Yes.
That's where he had his first office.
In the Frank Wegner.
Yeah, in that Schilke house down on the other side of St. Wendel.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
And was 49 the year he moved in here?
Somewhere around there. It had to be 49, or it was in between me and my brother, who I was born in 48, he was born in 50.
Oh, okay. I wasn't really sure. I know that he died in 59 May.
May 9th.
He died the day we moved into our house.
Okay. Anybody else know? Okay, go right ahead, please. You identify yourself.
I'm Dolores Kress.
Hi, Dolores.
He delivered 2 of my kids,
Okay.
John, and John had a problem. He told me that he would be retarded.
Okay.
And he wasn't. He was graded 3.70. And he died in 1977.
Okay.
And then with Nancy didn't have any problems.
Okay.
But I came home and I says, no way is he going to be retarded.
Okay.
And he wasn't.
He wasn't. Lucky. Very good. Very good. Well, thank you very much. Yes, Alice?
My brother-in-law, Merlin Mathias, the one that owned the dairy,
yes.
He was a very, very good friend of Doc Fighter.
Okay.
And they were fishing partners.
Okay.
And the day that our son was born, I went to the doctor here like at 1 o'clock, I think, and he said, well, I don't know. And he met us at the hospital, all dressed up in his fishing clothes. And he waited around. Our son was born at 5 to 6. And he took off from Manitowoc. That was the end of our seeing him till he got back from his fishing trip.
Okay.
But he was a great fisherman. He loved to fish.
But he delivered...
Our son, yeah.
Really? He took time off from his trip and...
Right, they're on the way over.
On the way
going
to
up north. I think they were going to Sturgeon Bay or something. Fishing service on the way.
Thank you very much.
Then he came breech, so it was a little extra time in between, you know, and stuff, and he was getting sort of nervous, but he hung in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Katie, you'd like to say a few words and identify yourself, please?
I'm Marie Pippert. I remember Dr. Fighter, but that was at the first place on the old Frank Wagner farm. And my daughter was born in 1947. And when I had her home about 2 weeks, then she was crying her head off, and that day I baked bread. And the bread got a little brown at the bottom, so I took a long butcher knife. I think I told you that once before.
Oh, we'll have
long
it.
butcher knife, and I went outside, and she was yelling her head off, so I was hurrying in, and the knife got stuck in the jamb of the door, and I sliced my whole hand open.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
And it bled. I bled like a stuck pig. And then luckily I had a friend that was over by Grandma Pippert, and she was a nurse, and she just took one look at me. She says, "You have to get that stitched up." So she took me up there, and the place was full. But when he saw me, he says, "You look a little green." He says, "I better take you first." So he put, what do you call those? Didn't sew it up. No, clamps. He put clamps in. And then I remember that the nurse afterwards, when she took me home, she, "I think we better stop at the tavern. You sure look green."
Very good. Well, at least you got some help you needed right away. Thank you. Very good.
That was tough taking care of a baby with stitches in the hand, 2 weeks old.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Marie.
Yep.
I would like to provide some information and his identification, please. Go right
I'm
ahead.
Walter Kress. They're deciding when Dr. Fighter came. It must have been around 1946, because in 1947 our daughter was born, and if it wouldn't be for Dr. Fighter, she wouldn't be here today.
Really?
She had the cord wrapped around her neck, and he was real calm and cut the cord. And
Everything went well after that, huh?
I've got another story about Dr. Fighter. I used to work in the garage out here in the Hudson Garage.
Yes, sir.
When Dr. Fighter lived in the house down here and it got 20 below zero in the morning, his Nash wouldn't start. We get a call. We'd come up with the wrecker. We'd push him over to St. Wendel Hill. When he got to the top of the hill, I'd floored. Halfway down the hill, he'd throw it in gear and away he went. That's many a morning when it was below zero. We'd start.
You got him on his rounds, huh?
We got him on his going on his rounds.
Good job, Wally. Thank you.
Guys,
Hi, Alice.
I think Doc Fighter was quite a unique person.
Okay.
I was only pregnant once, so I had one of these ganglions, what they call, that you got that big thing on your wrist, and that just came, during pregnancy, I guess, or whatever. And I went to his office one day, and he said, "I'll take care of that." And he took his big medical book that was about that thick, and wham, and that took care of that ganglion or whatever that was. I was after that, never saw it again.
He give it a good smack with the book.
That big medical book, and they were about that thick. I remember.
That's a unique operation
Yeah,
there.
I would say.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Come over here.
I do. Yeah. And that was 50.
Hi. So got room on this bus?
Yes, we do.
Tour to see the...
Where did you run from?
Hi, Fred.
The Queen, oh, hi, Marilyn. The Queen of England, or the Mayor of Cleveland?
He got on free.
Very good. Welcome aboard.
Richard.
Come on board. We're glad to have him on board, and he'll identify himself and give us some more information.
Well, I'm Fred Jacoby, and I'm 73 years old, and anyone who wants to help me on and off the bus can do so.
You're retired, of course?
Yeah, right.
Very good. Thank you very much, sir. Still on West Washington Avenue, and we've stopped at a home, a residence, and we have some information that we can apply to this. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, my name is Richard Wiegand. When I was growing up, this farm belonged to Arvin Newman. And he had, the barn is in the back here, and he lived in this house here.
Okay.
On the corner of the street here.
Not in that house.
Which one did he live in?
That house.
That's a new house.
That's a brand
But it was located here.
Yeah.
It was located. Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay, we want to
He
give
was
that
living in a house that was here, but that was taken away, torn down, and Dwayne Hoon bought this part of the residence part here with the barn, and he's got an antique business here now. And Dwayne fixed the house up, lived in it, and then he sold that, and he's living in this house over here now.
Okay.
And Arvin Newman was a heavy-set guy, and he always, I just remember him from Gretz's, from Tourist Inn.
Okay.
He was the guy who always stamped your hand when you
Oh,
collected
yes.
your ticket, and then he
Yes.
stamped your hand when you wanted to go out and come back in again.
Correct.
He just sat there on that stool in the middle there where the
Hallway
the
was.
entranceway was, and
right.
that's what he did. That's when I remember seeing him.
Okay.
But he's the one who planted all. He had this 80 acres here going down into the village where the baseball diamonds are and whatnot. He planted this whole thing in trees.
Okay.
Right around, when we talked about this, was it the late 50s, huh? Sometime. He planted this whole thing in pine trees. And you still see these pine trees all over the place here yet, you know. There's a lot of them that are left yet they're 40 years, more than 40 years, maybe 45 years.
Okay,
ago.
let me ask a question. You say this was a farm, his farm. Did he give up farming and then planted the trees where the farm was? Is that right?
He had some Jersey cows here.
Okay.
Because we had Jerseys on our farm. You know, we lived 1 mile west of here, and Jerseys were not that common, so we knew who the Jersey people were.
Sure, sure.
So we had a few Jerseys, maybe a couple Guernseys too, but I know he had Jerseys.
Okay.
And not very many cows. He was farming when I was, you know, when I was young.
Yeah.
And then he sold the cows and retired, whatever, and then he planted those trees.
Okay, very good. Thank you. To say a few words and identify yourself, please.
I'm Dolores Kress. We bought a lot from our Newman when we built our house.
Okay.
And my son, Vernon Jr., he helped plant all those trees there.
Okay.
And he was going to high school then already, and I said, no, he can't because he can't miss school.
Yeah.
And Aaron Newman called up the high school, and he got permission to
Really?
stay
Okay.
and plant all those trees. And I got a picture of them who planted those trees.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. Very good. And I think you might have had your hand up also. Identify yourself, please.
I'm Alice Mathias. I remember Arvin too. He was a jolly old guy, and he loved to stamp people's hands. I think he always got a hold of your hand a lot or whatever. And we all remember his wife, Minnie. She had cooked or served food at Skretz's for years and years and years.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And they had one son. Did they have more than one son? They lived in Fond du Lac?
Well, it was hers.
Her son, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I know about that.
Very good. Thank you. Went here, or would you like to identify yourself, please?
Dolores Kress. Well, my husband, he had a service garage down
Yes.
used to be Amstead.
And what was your husband's name?
Vernon Kress.
Okay.
And then one Sunday morning he called up. His car didn't start.
Okay.
So Vernon went up there. There was nothing wrong with the car.
Okay.
But he had it in the garage so tight that he was afraid to back it out for fear he'd
hit something.
Yeah. So that they said, oh, as long as you're here, you can back out the car.
Holy cow.
So he had to back out his car for him.
Oh. How did he ever get in there? He was that big of a man.
Oh, Edith.
He in the car.
Yeah.
He got in there.
He got in there okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He drove. He always used to come down to the garage.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. Has a little more information where this house that we've seen on camera was, or is, and there was something else there. Go right ahead, please.
Well, I'm Fred Jacoby, and I remember when I was teaching in Spring Valley, from 58 to 60, he redid the bottom of my car, which was starting to rust a little bit, and he repainted it. So he was running, those are the years he was running that shop. Now, how long before or after, I can't be specific. I don't know.
Okay.
But he was one of the benders from west of Howard's Grove, way up west there on A.
Could you give his full name again, please?
Well, I think it was Ralph, we think. I think it was Ralph.
Ralph Bender. That was a B, as in Bender?
Yeah, just...
Okay. And he had the occupation, he had a little garage attached to his house?
Well, no, Richard thinks it was a more substantial separate building.
It was a separate concrete building, because I remember when it was built, and I remember when it was torn down.
Okay.
And that's where he lived and worked.
Yeah,
for those few years. I can't say.
Richard Wiegand. I remember when that building was built. It you know, it was just a kind of an ugly concrete thing, and it didn't fit in the neighborhood. You know, I was surprised that they let him build that thing there, and he ran this business out of there for, I don't know, 10, 15 years maybe, and then all of a sudden one day it was gone. The garage was gone. And
now, what years was he there? Do you know offhand, approximately?
Late 50s, early 60s.
Okay, and that's when he started there, you think, or was the end of it?
Well, he would have started in the late 50s sometime.
All right.
I remember when it was built.
Okay.
It would have been, you know, 10 or so.
All right.
Was he related? Was he the same Bender that was living on X? On X. across 42, and he was a member of the posse.
Yes.
What
Maybe I shouldn't mention that. He was a member of the posse comitatus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ralph was?
Yeah, he had some very right-wing politics.
Okay. All right.
Same guy. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else know anything about Mr. Bender? Okay. Thank you.
He worked for Bayless too.
So identify himself in the house I just took on the video. He has some information. Go right ahead,
I'm
please.
Walter Kress, and the house that Charlie just took was moved here in 2 pieces. It was originally an LS south of Haven, and they cut the top off in order to move it.
Okay.
They moved it in 2 pieces.
And when did that happen? Do you know offhand?
Oh, by 10, 15 years ago.
All right. I see it's an unusual house as far as the roof line is concerned.
Right.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you, Wally.
See who it was.
I
Yeah.
don't know who it was.
You don't know who it was?
Early buyer store. Early
Oh.
Rick.
Oh, hey, Marie. Come on in here. Come on in. Okay, identify yourself and indicate some more information. There you go, my dear.
I'm Marie Pippert. That house was close to the Haven corner, and it was Arlie Rick Beiersdorf. That was
Okay.
her home. And when in my day there were no houses here at all,
Board, Art.
this except this farm.
Yes.
This was all bare, and then except down to my two uncles, Lorfield and Litzy down there. That's all there
Okay.
was.
Very good. 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 Very good, Marie. Thank you. A lady who can identify herself, and she has some information. Go right ahead.
Hi, I'm Alice Matthias. The people that live there is a Mrs. Albright. She's like Polly Albright down in the tavern.
Yes.
Sister-in-law. I think she lost her husband and they came from like the Spring Valley area. And she's
Okay.
got 2 daughters, I believe, that live with her.
All right.
The girls I know are very active with the EMTs out of
Okay.
Cleveland here.
All right. And again, we're still on West Washington Avenue. Okay, thank you. Just joined us. We're happy to have him aboard, and he'll identify himself. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Arthur Edler, and I'm 81 years old, and I lived in Cleveland for many years, for up to 15 years old.
Okay.
My dad had a grocery store and a barber shop in Cleveland, and the old store building,
Okay.
and he had a ice cream parlor and basement, and a barber shop in the basement, also a pool hall
Wow.
at one time in the basement.
Okay. Well, we got to get past your place this evening then to talk more about that, okay? We thank you for coming aboard, sir. Thank you.
I still remember all the old places in back there, the sawmill in back of our house.
We want to hear about that when we get there, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
Good. And anything you can add along the way, we'll have you raise your hand and I'll be right there.
I'll try to do so.
Thank you. Lady who just joined us, we're happy to have her with us, and she'd like to identify herself and give her age and what she's doing at this present time.
My name is Edith Litzy, and I am 84 years old.
Wonderful. You.
I'm associated with the Litzy House Barn,
Ah.
so I have worked there all the time.
Very good. Thank you very much, Edith. Thanks for joining us. Here who will identify himself, and he's got some added information. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Fred Jacoby, and I had the honor of working in the chicken butchering business with
Okay.
Gilbert Baylitz.
Okay.
Things got out of hand a little bit, and I proposed marriage before I had enough money to do so. So
Ah.
I was scrambling with 2 or 3 jobs a day, and one of them was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and going with Gilbert, and I can't remember who else, and we'd catch these chickens and pick them off the roost when they're sleeping, you know. And then we'd butcher, and I cannot think of who the older man was, that he knew the business. But then he and I were also in charge of cleaning up, so I got lots of hours, but we didn't get paid much an hour. And we took the feathers down to Pippert's nursery area. I can't say exactly, but in there, that's where they dumped them and let them rot, I think.
Okay.
But it was interesting business.
So your job really was you plucked the chickens or what? Or did they have automatic?
That was machines.
Oh, that was a machine.
Yeah, and then there were ladies that touched them up, you know.
Okay, pin feathers. And,
Yeah.
But they honestly, what did they do? Could you give us a little process there, if you can give us
Oh
that?
my goodness, I had a lot of more things on my mind those days than worrying about how
How to pluck a chicken, huh?
getting enough money to get married. No, they had automatic pickers and that, and there were a bunch of people working there. I'd say 10 maybe,
Okay.
and you know, and then some of the chickens got, you know, the machine would tear them up, and so somebody had to watch that sort of thing.
Okay.
And packing in a lot of ice. There was a lot of ice around.
All right. And how many years did you work there?
Oh, God, it was probably one summer.
Okay.
I got into the teaching business and really made some money.
There was a goal out there, right?
See, Armand was county superintendent.
Ah, yes.
He was the superintendent for me.
Okay.
At the time.
Thank you very much. I'd like to identify yourself, and we're in a locale here, and she can tell on each side of the street what we have here.
Calls me old gal.
Locale.
The house over there where Ruth Schnell lives now was a shop that Kenny Schnell started. And he built a lot of houses in the village here, quite a few of them.
Okay.
And this was Irvin Paul's house here, and this is what is the name of it? Stein. But see, none of them were there before.
Okay.
But he had a shop there. I remember going in there, like woodworking and stuff.
All right.
And I can't remember what year. Maybe Ruth would know. She's standing there. She should come over here.
Yeah.
Call her.
But that whole thing was a shop and a home at a time, or only a shop?
Just a shop.
Just a shop.
And afterwards they made it into a home.
Okay.
And he was killed, come to think of it, in a car accident.
Oh, really?
Can't remember who hit him. Anybody remember that?
I don't know. I know what corner it has.
On the corner
I
of
know
X
the corner, yeah.
and South Union Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can't remember who hit him that time.
Now, according to Richard Wiegand and other people here, the place we're looking at, which would be to the north rather, is called Schnellville.
Yeah, we always call all of that Schnellville. To this day I do.
Okay. And behind you, Marie, they call that area what?
Well, there was Arvin Newman's farm, and then he put in all those trees.
Yeah.
And I think he was about 15, Butchie, because I remember seeing him sitting on that thing too and dropping the trees in.
But he wants to know what you called it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. A lot of times we would just call it the Pines.
Or Stickyville.
Yeah. And then Sticky, we called it Stickyville.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
A lot of new houses in there.
Yeah.
Where
We got a young lady there, and her name is Mrs. Schnell. And this is her home, and it was formerly a workshop for her husband.
He planted all evergreens in there, huh?
Irene?
We're talking about Schnellville. That was in partnership with Fred Matson. It was called Schnell and Matson. Were the builders.
That's right.
Okay.
And they built the house to the east of their shop too. And they lived up here. They lived in some of these homes.
Okay.
Both sides of the street.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, Mark. It was the Herb Lorfeld home, Washington. And we're across from what is a senior center and town shop, I believe, at this point. He'll identify himself and indicate information. Go right ahead.
I'm Walter Kress, and you want to know about the building across the street here? That was built in 1947 as Schurer's Garage. It was Hudson and John Deere.
Okay.
And later now it became the county shop, the town hall, and the senior center.
Okay.
Eddie used to have a house just west here.
Eddie Schurer?
Eddie Schurer.
Okay. And was it on this street?
On this street.
Okay. And was it on across Dairyland Drive or?
No, on this side of Dairyland
On this side?
Drive. It was moved. It's down in one of the streets down in the village here now.
Okay. Where was his home located exactly?
Just right across here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To Wally, we have a home that was formerly in that area that I'm pointing out right now at the camera. And this is the Eddie Schurer home, and this was the business nearby at that time. You identify yourself, please?
I'm Walter Kress again. The house was moved because they cut the road through here. That was before Dairyland Drive was put here.
Okay. And Dairyland Drive was what before it was Dairyland Drive?
There was nothing. There was no road there.
No road there.
They used to use Westview. It was the old 141, and then they moved
Oh,
this year.
okay.
This was 141 after a while.
After a while, yes, sir. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Before they put I-43 in.
Yep. Very good. Thank you. Here, who will identify himself, please?
Fred Jacoby. Well, they built a new road through here as opposed to through St. Wendel.
Yes.
In early to middle 50s it was in there.
Okay.
I remember 53, 54, people had jobs on there, and parts of it were built already in 1950 because I remember driving on it before it was paved.
Okay.
And so, see, it was a bypass. They bypassed St. Wendel.
All right. Okay.
And so that was a new stretch all the way like to Clover or somewhere there.
All right.
It went.
Very good.
And I remember who got the first new Hudson out of Eddie Shurey's garage.
Who did?
Wally Hansen.
Wally
Want
Hansen.
me to tell you about it?
Yeah. Now, Hudsons were in what years were they selling Hudsons?
Well, he sold Hudsons down in the village already.
Oh.
Before the war, he sold a lot of Hudsons.
So he had a business downtown.
My father bought an Essex from him.
In Hika.
Hika.
Oh, in Hika.
Right west of the tavern.
Oh. Okay, and then he moved his business up here.
Well, he went into business with his brother-in-law, Howard Vogel.
Okay.
And Eddie Shurey's wife was a Vogel. Howard's
Okay.
sister.
All right.
And then they were here, and they built this new shop, and they sold John Deere and that down there too,
Okay.
which Wally must have done a lot with down there.
Okay.
And then finally, at some point, I don't know, they dissolved the business, and Howard Vogel went with the co-op, and John Deere went with the co-op.
Okay.
And then John Deere was very big for the co-op for many years.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Who has a residence in our area? Go right ahead, please.
I'm Dolores Kress, and we built that house in 54, I guess we started.
Okay. All right.
And Schnellville home, except the mason work, my dad did, later bricks,
Okay.
and that lot was bought from Arvin Newman.
Okay. So he sold all the lots along the street here then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
And and I did all the painting.
You did all the painting. Okay. You had part of the job, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank.
Staining and painting.
Okay. So you've been living here since what year again, please?
We moved here in 55.
Okay.
Nancy was born in 56.
All right. That's good enough. Thank you very much.
Built their home.
Yes.
And she became pregnant, and then she always teased me. She says, "We won't wait till you get your house done. You're gonna be pregnant."
Oh.
And did you do that?
Yeah.
You did happen. Okay. Thank you very much. Say a few words.
Richard Wiegand, I know when this bypass 141 went through here that Herbie and Althea didn't like that idea too much because you know the highway was running right past their house. This is the major highway between Milwaukee and Green Bay. You know, well, you know that this close to the lake.
Right.
And I know that there was a little building I remember, and it was like a shoe store or something that they took out. But nobody remembers who owned it or what. That they took out when they put the highway through here also.
Okay.
And another thing I want to mention is we were telling you about Schnell up here. You know that house where what's her name? Ruth was standing. That used to be there. It was a plumbing electrical shop.
Okay.
Schnell's son, Kenny Schnell Jr., his business, he's running a similar kind of business, and he's over in this industrial park back behind the bank over here now.
Okay.
He has a newer building, so he got into his dad's business and he expanded over to there.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Say a few words.
I'm Fred Jacoby, and they're talking about Brillmeyers. Well, I knew Ed Brillmeyer pretty good because he was associated with Carl Amsted's business for many years, the car business, Ford's.
Okay.
And he was mechanic, and then after the war, well, probably starting in 49, and 50, then he got in sort of the salesman's position, so he didn't get his hands dirty so much anymore.
Ah.
And then he continued to do that until there was the accident. He was killed on the curb. And I know it was the night before there was one of the Mary's wedding or Charlie's wedding or something. George's wedding?
George who?
George Brumeyer.
Oh. Oh.
Somebody was getting married the next day, and it happened on the curve. I think I explained to you once before about the DeRocher curves. And that's where it happened, on the south end. When you come straight out of Hika and you make your first turn to the left. That was one of the, that's one of those deals.
Now, how is he related to the person that died, or how does this all go?
Ed Brumeyer was killed there.
Oh, he was killed there. And
the night before his son's wedding.
No kidding. Oh.
George was his son.
And Esther was the widow and lived here.
Okay. All right.
She remembers when this was built.
Maybe Marie can talk about the church.
Okay, very good. Is going to give her name, and she's got some things to indicate from the background building.
My name is Edith Litzy, and I can remember my mother told me that they brought me down here for this ordination, and I was a baby, and this is 84 years ago. So I know how old this building is.
Okay, very good.
We belong to Trinity in Liberty.
All right.
And it was quite a trip. It was 12 miles.
Yes, it was. That's
that
right.
they had to come at that time.
Was that with a vehicle, I presume, or
Yeah, we had a car at that time.
That time you had a car, okay. And we got another lady next door here, and she'd like to say a few words and identify herself, please.
I'm Marie Pippert. Well, I'm a lifelong member of the church. I was baptized, I imagine, there.
Okay.
And confirmed.
Okay.
And but this is the third church already.
Okay.
This is not the first one.
Okay. Can you just kind of highlight the...
I can't remember what year. It says it on here, doesn't it?
23.
It says it right on here somewhere. When they built it. Oh,
Okay.
I think we hashed that over once before
Yeah,
already,
I
what
know.
year it was.
Okay.
But
And,
I was confirmed with Reverend Sprengling, and he was pretty meek. He always, if you didn't know, you said, "Oh, that's okay." But I was confirmed in German yet.
Oh, you were?
Yes,
Oh,
in
okay.
Deutsch.
In Deutsch.
Yep.
Okay.
Alles
Here?
Deutsch.
Thank you.
Or down there?
Up there.
Oh, up there. Okay, at St. Peter's.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. To identify himself, please.
I'm Fred Jacoby, and something Marie said about the German confirmation. My sister Anita, who was born in 23, October 1st, 1923, was the second baby baptized in the new church. And she was confirmed in 37 in German, and that was the last German class of confirmation.
Okay.
And Helen Schutte, daughter of Edwin and Alma Schutte, was the first baby baptized at the church. And I came across some letters that my father had written to my mother while he was in Iowa, courting my mother in South Dakota, and he was relaying information about what was going on about the church here that his mother here had written him. So there, I have it in the letters, the dates when they had the cornerstone laying, when the men started digging for tiles for the foundation and hauling sand to put underneath. And one letter was about a dedication or cornerstone laying, a little mixed up. I'll have to bring them along sometime.
Okay. That's actual documentation almost.
Well, it's pretty
Pretty
like
close.
second, third hand.
Yeah, but still, it's
pretty
there.
close.
Very good. Thank you.
I would guess that maybe it's in the church records as well.
Okay.
That kind of stuff. But it is interesting that I came across that. I just never dreamed I was going to be in there.
Good. Very good. Thank you very much.
About St. John, St. Peter. I'm quite sure this church was built in 1923. I was looking this morning in Madison, before I left, at a document that had all the ministers of the church on it, and I didn't bring it with me. I'm just collecting a lot of this information in my apartment. And Sprengling was the minister from 1887 to 1934, which is 47 years.
47 continuous years.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. I know he was here a long time.
Yes.
And what I like about the guy historically is that maybe he wasn't that good of a preacher. I don't know. I don't remember. You guys would know. He was a good violinist, we have heard before, but he was an academician. He was a bright guy, and he recorded whenever anybody died a paragraph about them, where they came from. And in the church books, anybody that died during Springling's time, if they came from Germany, he wrote down the village they came from. And that led me to, a couple years ago, to Saxony, to the village where my great-great-grandmother came from. And it's because of the church record, and it's because of Springling's, you know, his historical work.
Okay.
Because none of the other preachers ever did that. You know, they just said blah, 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 you know, dates, born, died, married, that's it.
But he added
Springling added all this other stuff.
Okay.
And I was very happy about that, because that makes it easier to find out some information about some of the people that were here. The garage behind the parsonage back here was just built new, what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? The previous garage that had been there was a half of a shed that had been next to or across the road from St. Peter, and they used it to park the horses in. It was the garage for St. Peter by the Saxon Cemetery there on Union Road. And half of that building became the garage here, and the other half of the building went to the Jacoby, your cousin's farm. Bud Jacoby's machine shed. And that building doesn't exist anymore as far as I know, does it?
I don't think so, but I haven't really looked.
Yeah, okay. So that was the history of that garage that they just tore down here.
Okay.
I got that. Okay.
Very good.
Across the street here where the bank is, this is the third bank in the village of Cleveland. But I want to mention there used to be a farm here. There was a barn and a white house, a two-story white house across from the church here. And the owner was Francis Schmidt, and he was a bachelor. He never married.
Okay.
Yeah, and the mother, I mean, this probably was, there was a cow barn there. There had been, he was keeping heifers there when I remember. He farmed. And he, in his later years, he was the one who plowed the snow out of people's driveways in the village in the wintertime. He had a tractor and a scraper on the front. And I used to see him going all the time. He would be doing stuff for people in the village. You just call Francis Schmidt, you know, he'll move whatever it is with his tractor and his loader. And eventually he passed away. And right after he died, I, for some reason, was able to go with somebody, and we went into the house. And they were tearing it down, and we got a board out of there. And I don't remember, we got a couple boards at home on the farm. One says RP Yost Company, it's from a packing crate, and the other one says William H. Taple, hardware. I don't remember which one we got, but we got one of them out of his house. And I took it home, and we got it in our garage hanging on the wall. So I got a little piece of something out of that house.
Okay. Very
That's good. My advice here for this.
Okay, thank you. Yourself, please.
I'm Alice Messias. I have a little comment about Francis Schmidt too.
Okay.
I know when we bought our house, we had a whole bunch of old cedar trees to be moved out. He would come with that tractor or whatever, and he'd pull them all out, and he had like a pit in the back of his farm, right? And he'd dump all that, anybody had anything they wanted pulled out or whatever, that all went in that pit.
Okay.
And that's why that's so soggy back there.
Okay. Okay, very good. Lady, you'd like to say a few words and identify yourself, please?
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I just wanted to add that the garage was built in memory of Danny Yeager, and the cement in front of it was in memory of Larry Yeager, Larry Albrecht.
Okay.
They both died from this congregation, and both were very young men.
All right.
And the garage was built by my son Todd. He has diamond doors.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Dispensing candy, bars, ice cream.
There was a bar on there. Serving. I took photographs of that.
I'm getting to the church people, then we'll have to use the photographs and talk about that.
Yeah.
the young lady would like to identify herself. We're still in Cleveland.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and we're talking regarding the house next to the Lutheran Church, and it was owned for many, many years by the Yost family.
Okay.
But at the present day, it is not owned by them anymore. And this is the R.P. Yost Company, and
Okay.
I'll let somebody else handle that. It was Rudolph Yost?
She worked there.
Yeah.
Can help us with a little bit of information, and she'll identify herself, please.
I'm Irene Dine.
Nice and loud, Irene.
I'm Irene Dine,
Okay.
and this is the R.P. Yost Company, and I worked there for 22 years.
Okay.
And the house to the west was owned by Rudolph and Eleanor Yost.
Okay.
And Rudolph started the business.
All right.
And then the two boys took it over afterward. Ralph and Roger were their sons.
Okay.
And after a while, when Ralph retired and Roger retired, and it's Randy and Jerry, those are Ralph's sons.
All right.
And they still run the business today.
Okay.
And this front was remodeled in about 1970. It used to be a high step, and you walked in it like an old-fashioned store.
Okay.
And they added this east side and made a new front.
All right. And the 22 years you worked there, could you kind of give us a window of when you worked there?
1970 to 92, 1992.
Okay. Okay, very good. And what did you do there?
Bookkeeper, clerk.
Tell them what they all sold.
Jack of all trades.
What they all sold in there.
Oh, we sold
Yeah.
appliances,
Thank you.
plumbing, heating, air conditioning, milkers, TVs, everything.
Yeah. Appliances, like you said, too? Yeah. Okay, very good. Anybody else can add something? Identify yourself one more time. She has a bit more information.
Irene Dine, and the milkers we sold were De Laval.
Okay.
And the washing machines were Speed Queen.
Good job.
Well, and GE later.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
For Kissinger's home.
This is Kissinger.
Right here.
Okay, good.
I always thought I don't have to.
It's right after the Yost business, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have to just stop here. Wait, you really got a garage?
Photograph the house, and this gentleman will identify himself and talk about it.
My name is Arthur Edler, and I lived here many years ago. And Dr. Williams, Dr. C.L. Williams owned the house, and he had a mink ranch, and he also killed horses there, and was a veteran. And he had 2 daughters and a son.
Okay.
His son died of ruptured appendix and playing basketball. And I went to school with his daughter Lois.
Okay.
Graduated from Center School. And after he had that, he had a large mink farm to the east of the house, which is all filled in now. So that's about all I remember of.
Okay.
Doc Williams.
Oh, Doc Williams.
Yes.
Okay, he was a general practitioner, is that right?
Veterinarian.
Oh, a veterinarian. I'm sorry.
Yeah, veterinarian.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you very much. Identify yourself, please.
Dorothy Anderson. Our family and the Williams family were real close, and all Ed Klessig and Elena too. And we'd often get together, and then when we're all meeting, all of a sudden, Doc Williams would have a call. There was a sick cow somewhere, and he'd have to leave us, and just like a regular doctor, and
Sure. Oh, yeah.
that happened quite a bit.
Oh, okay. And you were friends from your parents, knew his?
Yeah, right. And Lloydie died when he was about 17, 18, and he was 2 years older than I was, and we always liked the kid Lloydie.
Okay.
And Lois and Joanne are still living in Manitowoc, I guess. Yeah, Lois.
Okay.
Or Two Rivers. Two Rivers. Someplace in that way.
Sure. Very good. Thank you, Dorothy. Okay. You identify yourself, please?
I'm Alice Gonzalez. Evidently, when the Williamses first moved to Cleveland, they lived in our house upstairs, the house that we live in.
Oh, really?
It was the Sharon Brock house that built it, next to Polly. You'd probably know it. And we could never figure out how a couple could live upstairs. There was no kitchen, they had no running water, no bathroom, nothing.
My
but
God.
they lived up there evidently till they moved into this house. House
Holy.
was built in like 1915, so I
Okay.
don't know what years the Williamses came out here or lived in this house,
Yeah.
but they lived there first.
Okay, very
Without a
good.
bathroom and without water or without kitchen
Nothing, pretty-
cupboards, nothing.
Thank you.
Guys, when that building was built, according to my memory, that was MGI. It was a advertising company, and the main fella that ran it was John Toozy. He
Okay.
lived down in Hika. And I know I worked at the bank at that time.
Okay.
And we'd always, a lot of times have Christmas parties. One time they'd throw one, and one time we. It was just a real little, nice little office place.
Okay.
But they had lots of trouble with water always.
Oh,
And then he moved out to, where did John move to? Mequon, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then after that, the radio station, but it was a different radio station than WKTT, right? I think they had a different call number.
all right. Okay, very good.
W10, what was it?
Okay,
whatever.
we'll find out.
103? Okay.
103.
That's all I have, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to identify yourself, please.
Irene Dine. And that radio station that was in the Toozy building was KT 103 at the time.
Okay. All right, and that's been there again, how long, do you know offhand? I hate to put that on your
I can't
shoulders.
say. Honestly, can't say.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. Who would identify himself, and we've got some more information. Right ahead, please.
Richard Wiegand. I want to point to the bank. This is now the Village Hall, and this was the second Cleveland State Bank. And I think they moved here in '56, somewhere around that time. Because I remember when I was growing up, we still went to the other bank down on Hickory Street. So and then later, the bank moved from here over to where we were before, and I don't know what year that was, but it's
Okay.
maybe 15 years ago, something like that. There's the telephone office, TDS as they call it now. I don't know, it was a telephone office here. I don't know how long that's been there, maybe 20 years, 25 years, 20 years, something like that. It says on there, okay. And then what you were saying was that the radio station started in the front building here, and then they built the building in the back. And then the insurance company, which was in the bank building, moved into this building over here.
And the Village Hall was in there.
And the Village Hall was also in this.
In this corner building.
Yeah.
Before the insurance.
And what street is that on, please?
This is West Washington Street, and Linden crosses here.
Linden is the one that crosses? Okay,
Linden goes north and south.
all right.
I want to say something about the insurance. When we were on the farm, we always had Gilbert Bourne Insurance, okay? And then he went together with these guys, with Kovach and Colt, okay? So then we wrote our checks not to Gilbert Bourne, but we wrote our checks to these guys. I still have my auto insurance with them, and after a while I was writing my checks to Milwaukee, to, I forget the name Germantown. And then there was another company that bought them out. Now I'm writing my checks to Texas. We've been with the same insurance company, but I'm writing my checks 5 different places since I was on the farm.
Okay,
Progress.
That's
very good.
progress.
There you go. By the way,
Are they? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. I forget what it was about. Oh, it was for the sesquicentennial. We did some advertising for the wagon train that came through, and I and Kathy Pierce and Chris Connell and a bunch of us from Centerville Settlement were on this. We were on this committee in 1998. I was living here that year, and we were organizing to get this wagon train to come through this area. I came to the radio station here to find out about some advertising, and I walked into the place, and there's 2 or 3 people in there. One of them was the station manager, and the other 2 were advertising executives. And I was looking around in the building, and I said, "Where's your DJ?" There was no DJ. All the music is piped in from somewhere else. Already in '98. I was rather offended by that, because I expected to find somebody sitting in there spinning records. Because I've been a DJ at the university, and back in the '60s, and I used to spin records, and and flip the switches, and talk, and then.
and they only pipe it in.
And they were already, at that time, they had no DJ here anymore.
Oh.
So the other thing that happened to me that day is Bill Walters walked in here. And I don't know if you know Bill Walters, but he was, for many years, he did the for, was it WCUB in Manitowoc, or? He was the farm guy, and I used to meet him at the fair, and I used to meet him at out on the farm, you know, he'd be doing something, and he interviewed me a few times, you know, he'd come up, and charming fellow, you know, and then he was, you know, he always had this real nice radio voice. And I don't know what came up, but Bill Walters told me at that time that he was the disc jockey for the second last performance of Buddy Holly and these guys that died in 1959 in Iowa in that plane crash. The day the music died. Yeah, at Storm Lake. The night before, they were at the ballroom in Green Bay, and Bill Walters was the disc jockey for that performance. So, and in fact, that was in the paper a little while after that. I don't remember, but it was the anniversary or something like that. And he was telling me this story, and I don't know how we got on this, you know, but Bill Walters has got some history behind him besides ag, you know, or besides dairy.
Very good, thank you. This lady here would like to say a few words.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I would like to add that we have one of the local people working at the radio station, and he announces and does lots of things, and his name is Chris Logan, and he lives up in Schnellville.
Oh, Chris Logan.
Yeah.
He does work here?
For this radio station.
Okay,
yeah.
very good.
I don't know, he's on when I drive. He's on every once in a while. Yeah, and all the stuff, real much of it is pre-recorded. They've got it all done ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah. Chris Logan.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, Chris works for this radio station.
Okay, thank you.
Was.
I'm Alice Mathias. I got an info on the bank. Back in 1966, I started working there part-time.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, it was only Hertha and Clarence Whitty and Herb Lorfeld, the guy up on the hill there that they talked about.
Yes.
And it was sort of different working there because there were so few people. And Hertha was the only lady. That was the only 3 people they ever had working in the bank. And when we had to do adding of the ledgers and stuff like that, they'd bring up an old foot freestanding adding machine that you had to hold it with your feet, that it wouldn't fall, you know, swing around, and then you had to punch your numbers and pull out a thing for every number, and that was like oodles and oodles of numbers.
Oh my God.
And later on, they improved in their little, they got a little more IBM stuff and stuff.
Now, did you operate that particular piece of equipment too?
Yeah, we had to add those things up, I think, every week.
Okay.
She did it on the electric machine, and I had to do it on the old one.
Okay, what years did you work there? From what window of years?
I worked there from part-time in 1966. I started full-time in 82.
Okay.
And worked till, not in 82, 72.
Yes.
And I retired in 88.
Okay, very
and
good.
at that point is when they moved to the new bank.
All right.
Retired in June, and they made their move like in fall.
Okay.
I didn't want to know anything about new machines. No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Identify himself, and he wants to make maybe a little correction on a date. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Fred Jacoby. Well, I'll make a correction to the extent that I remember that I was living in Cleveland, the village, until June 1960, and I banked at the other bank. But then how much later they used the old building, I don't have any reference.
Okay. All right. Well, that's still something to work with. Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie?
Who remembers a little bit further back in the past about the land. Could you give us more information?
I'm Marie Pippert. Right in back of me was a farm. It was Henry and Alvina Bourne, and that went all the way up to the end of the road, up this street
up this
here,
street,
Linden
which is,
Street.
Okay, south.
And I'm pretty sure that my father-in-law, when he started the nursery, bought the land from them.
Okay.
And I remember she got to be in the high 90s, and she drank a glass of wine every night.
Okay.
And I remember going in back there, because we lived right down here, and she had a nice grape arbor.
Okay. Now, but this was all farmland where these houses are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And across the street, which is Linden Street, was what? Who owned that property?
That was Clarence Colt. That was his father already, and somebody else before that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Here we go, Irene.
Yes,
Nice and loud, please.
I'm Irene Dine.
Yes.
And that Kissinger's house, that's 2 up the street,
Yes.
were a farm that were run by Roger's grandpa.
Roger who?
Roger Yost.
Okay.
That was a Yost farm.
Okay.
Well, I don't know his first name.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now we got some parcels of land here that there's 3 names involved here. We talk about the
Born,
and then Yost, and something else.
His name was Fred Yost.
Fred Yost.
Yes.
And that was the farmland where the...
No, where Kissinger lives.
Okay.
Up the street.
Yes. Okay, very good.
That was also a farm all the way back to the vets.
Okay, very good.
Edward and Russell Yost lived in there too, after they were married.
Well, in the moved house they
Yeah,
lived.
and then they built the house.
Okay, just one second, thank you. Who wants to review a little bit of what the ladies had said in regard to the properties, and he might have some more information. Go right ahead.
Well, I'm from Jacoby, and the red brick house, you can just see the porch or something stick out a little bit, which that Oliver Kissinger
Yes.
lives in now, was built by Fred Yost, and I think that came out when Jerry was with us a few months ago.
Okay.
And, you know, it was all part of the farm. Then he sold it to Ernst Silko when he retired from the cheese-making business in Edwards.
Okay.
And then they lived there into the 40s or 50s, I think. Maybe, I think she died in 54, maybe.
All right.
I'm mixed up on some of them. And then, I suppose that's when Kissinger bought it, huh?
Probably. I don't know.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Fred.
It's Kathy Sixel, and the house on the corner here was owned by the blacksmith that used to be right across from Nickelbines, and that was Fred Kolb.
That's Clarence's
Clarence's
father.
And that was Clarence's father, and it just sold recently.
Okay.
Within the last couple of years, and Clarence's daughter lives right next door to the house, or did live right next door to the house, and that house is owned by John Kleckner now,
Okay.
and
Now-
that was Beverly Kolb's husband.
Now, this blacksmith shop, is that here?
On
or?
North Avenue.
Oh.
It was out on North Avenue across from Nickelbines Tavern.
Okay.
Who built this house? Does anybody know that? Did the Kolbs build this house? Art, do you know?
Clarence and, at that
Will identify himself?
I'm Walter Kress, and they're talking about all these Yosts. Paul Yost had the farm before Francis Schmidt had the farm where the new bank is now.
Okay. Okay, very good. Very good. Thank you very much.
The little white house that's coming right here, Mary and Tilly Bourne used to live.
Okay. Keep it going, Kathy.
Lived here. Marie lived here.
Where did Mrs. Moss live?
Start from this end if you don't go so fast.
I'd like to indicate some information on some residences here on Washington Avenue. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Marie Pippert. Right next to Bourne's was Tilly and Mary Bourne. I think Mary, or did the other one build the house, but the two sisters lived there.
Tilly built.
What?
Tilly built.
Yeah, Tilly and Mary Bourne.
Okay.
And then was Oscar Culp, Oscar and Minnie Culp first, and after it's my Uncle John and Tana Louisa, kind of think, bought the house. They were John Lutz's, lived in there.
Okay. That's
And this one was Robert Vogel,
okay.
and then Gehagens were in there, and Brickners. I don't know, have no idea.
Do you have any first names for the Gehagens?
Huey.
Huey.
And what was her name?
Arlene. And now for the next people that owned it, do you have those names?
They lived out in Merlin Matthias's house. Debbie and Ray Brickner.
Okay.
They lived in there. I have no idea who's in there now.
All right.
And this is where I was born.
Okay, just one second. Talking to a young lady here, and we're in front of her residence in the past, and she'd like to indicate some information. Go right ahead, please.
I'm still Marie Pippert.
Okay, Marie.
and right in back of me is where I was born, and I'm pretty sure it was 1903 or 1904. And I remember we had a regular iron fences in the front for
Okay.
years and years, and later on we had a cedar hedge there in between the next one. And I can just remember when the road came through, and
Okay, about your dad, what did he do here?
he had the garage, and Cleveland will come to it.
Okay, but he built this house, is that correct?
Yep.
And what year was that again, please?
I think 1903 or 1904. I argued with the kid over here. He said 1903. I thought it was 1904.
Okay.
So I don't know.
You can't. And where was your bedroom in this home?
Upstairs, way on the south side.
On the south side?
Yep.
Okay.
I had a sister and a brother, the blind guy from Cleveland.
Yes.
Remember him?
I do.
Yeah. And my sister died when she was 22, but I remember my mother, oh, she had a garden. Between us and Vogel's, there was a garden, and all the way back and down to the creek and down to Edler's store.
Oh my God, it wasn't a garden.
Up over the hill. How my mother ever did all that. Ooh, but that stuff was good, huh? What you ate. Oh, man. What they all made years ago.
Okay, and as far as, was there a picture taken of the family at one time? Was that here at this house? It was a large picture.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, could you give us
a
that?
Case of Kingsbury right there on the
Okay.
porch.
Could you give us the occasion when that picture was taken?
It was just all relation and friends.
Okay.
I remember the porch was just about the same.
All right.
And they were sitting on the porch.
And how many people do you think was on that picture?
Oh, I would say maybe 15. I can't remember.
All right.
The count.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Thank you very much, Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Gentleman here we'd like to talk to. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, my name is Richard Wiegand. I'm 1/8 Litzy.
You're 1/8 Litzy.
1/8 Litzy. And she was talking about Litzy pictures.
Yes.
Okay, there's the famous, what do you call it, the wide...
yes, that's the one
Union.
That one was on the farm in 1924 on the Litzy farm, the original Litzy farm.
Okay.
There were 196 people on that picture.
All right. I remember it was huge.
Yeah, and I and my dad, and then we went around and we attempted to name people, and we were down to about 20, and then some of the other Litzy people got, I think, a few more. I don't know if they got them all or not. Some of the babies, we didn't know which one was which. We have another photograph at home. It's the Litzy cousins. And I don't remember what year that was. It was...
It's on the picture, but I can't
There were
remember.
about 50...
It seems to me it's 1903.
There were about 50 people on there.
Okay.
And I remember when I was growing up, you know, I was born in '48, in the 1950s, there must have been at least 100 Litzys around here, you know. I mean, there was half the church was Litzys. It was just a huge family in this area. You know,
They were all related. They all said I was related to everybody in Cleveland.
Yeah, well, they all came from, there was one Litzy family to start with, and most of the rest of us are somehow tied in, I don't know, but that's just what I wanted to say about the Litzy photographs.
Okay. I'd like to add a few things.
Yeah, the large Litzy photo that was taken in 1924 on the farm was the 75th anniversary of the arrival of Gottlieb and Gottlieb Litzy and Frederica Rost. They were married, or got married here, I don't know, but that was the 75th anniversary of their arrival in the United States, or in Centerville here.
And the year that they arrived?
All the descendants.
Okay, and the year they arrived was
1849.
What? Okay, and the 75th would make it what year?
1924.
Okay, very good, thank you. Young lady here who is going to relate something to that famous photo. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Edith Litzy, and my husband's family was all on that picture except for the mother. She had to go in the house to warm up a bottle they were living there for one of the babies, and it was a Lorfield baby, and he thinks it was Dolores.
I know it was Dolores.
Okay, so she missed out on that big picture, huh?
So she's the only one that's missing it.
Okay, thank you, Edith. So here who has a
You and your young lady.
The oldest one here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Here I am again. I just remember that I was 10 years old then, and I don't remember anything of that except they had one darn old goat, and he popped right my rear end and threw me against the barn.
Oh no.
Yes, that's the only thing I remember of that whole meeting, and how they ever got all those people together, because my brother is not on there either. How they ever got all those people together is something else.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's amazing.
Very good, Marie, thank you. A large home, a large white home in the background, and I guess this young lady will tell us a little bit of a story about it. Go right ahead, please.
It was Dr. Reinhardt, and as long as I can remember, he was always in there, and we were all scared stiff of him because he shook like,
He shook.
Yep. Oh, we were so scared of him. But he was such a good doctor. He brought a lot of babies into the world, except mine. He was no good for me. And he had a daughter that she was real well educated, and she again had a daughter in Massachusetts that was killed. She was hacked to death with an axe, and in the paper it said that only the cat knew. They never found the person that did it, Ruth.
Wow.
And then I worked for their son, Adrian Reinhardt, who lived above the tavern. I was a dental assistant for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was at Wimler's Tavern?
Yeah, Wimler's or Paulie's.
Paulie's Palace now, but...
But Adrian had his office up there. That was the son of the doctor again.
All
He was
right.
a dentist.
Okay. And this was a general practitioner type doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I remember he used to always have Dutch shoes on in the garden, and he would grow peanuts, and he was so proud of being able to grow peanuts. And most of the time they spent on that window to the south, there was a den, and they all spent a lot of time reading up there.
Up in the upper window there?
Yeah.
Okay, very
And
good.
afterwards, then they converted it into a double flat.
All right.
Lots of people that lived up there already.
Okay.
Ralph Yost and I can't even remember who else.
Fiddies.
Didn't Fiddy and Irene lived there too? Fiddlers. Yeah.
Downstairs, I think.
Yeah.
But then he had his office downstairs, so you could come in there.
Yeah.
Get treated.
He had his office there.
Okay.
I thought it was upstairs. I don't know what made me think it was
Now, did he have a disease since you said he kind of shook?
Well, I think it was something else.
Oh. Okay. Okay, thank you. But gentlemen, introduce himself. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Walter Kress, and Dr. Reiner delivered me
He delivered you?
back in 1920.
No kidding. Well, he did a good job.
I'm still here.
Was he a young man then?
He was about middle-aged then, I would say.
Oh, really?
Okay. Okay, anybody
Yeah,
remember?
I think he died sometime during the war.
All right.
Not sure just what year it would be.
Anybody else remember a thought or two on that?
I can.
Okay, here we go. I'll shoot from here. Talk loud, please.
Sunday, 1931.
What's your name?
Fred Jacoby. Dr. Reiner delivered me and my two older sisters.
Okay.
And then my younger brother, he wasn't here anymore, so Dr. Cole. But we were all born at home in the farmhouse.
Okay.
All of us.
Here, go right ahead, please.
Well, just that we were all born at home in the
Okay.
farmhouse.
All right.
And the doctors came.
All right.
And Dr. Reiner delivered my two older sisters and myself. And
Okay.
then Dr. Cull from Howard's Grove delivered my younger brother.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Fred.
That was in 1943.
All right. Thank you. He also, and she'd like to say a few words. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Dorothy Anderson, and I was born in 1918, and I was born in the home, our own house, and so were my two sisters later on.
Okay. So there was sort of a common thing then, huh?
Oh yes.
Ah. Boy, nowadays that's sort of a rarity, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dolores Kress. My husband, Vernon Kress, he was born in a farm way down there somewhere.
Okay.
And he wasn't even 3 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And then Dr. Reiner said he only lived about a day or two.
Yeah.
He lived to be 83.
83 years old.
And they put him in a shoebox.
Okay.
They used handkerchiefs for diapers.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
the day he was born, then they who it was, took him up to St. Wendel to have him baptized right away.
Right away, sure.
They thought he
Sure.
wasn't gonna live.
Okay.
He lived to be 83.
Great. Great. Good. Thank you. Here, who would like to relate something pertaining to this unique house?
Yes, this house, I'm Charlie Bauer, and this house here is called a craftsman style of home. And there's 3 main characteristics that make up a craftsman style of home. And if the camera would pan on the front of the house here, you will notice that all craftsman style houses have a full front porch. It goes the full width of the house.
All right.
That's one of the characteristics of a craftsman style house. The second thing is the gable dormer on top of the house here now.
Yeah.
Some of the gable dormers can be enclosed, like this one has windows on. Some can be an open balcony on there.
Okay.
Some can have a window in, some without. This particular window up here is called an oblong ellipticus window. It has a wood frame and it has keystone medallions at 3, 6, 9, and 12 o'clock. And the third characteristic that would make it a craftsman style home is they have a large overhang
Okay.
on either side.
All right.
And them are the 3 things that will tell you that it's a craftsman style home. The long front porch, the full width of the house, it always has a gable dormer on top of it, and it has long overhangs on either side.
Okay.
And this style of house building was very popular from 1905 to 1930.
All right.
And it was so popular that even the Sears and Roebuck catalog copied this particular style of homes and made it available in their catalog.
Catalog. Okay. Yes. So they call them a Sears home, or did they just call it
a Craftsman?
Craftsman style.
They called it a Craftsman. And this is the fourth one just on this little street here since we started.
Okay.
So you can see it was popular.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed it out, Charlie. Thank you.
Sure.
He's good enough to join us this evening on a little ride through the village, and he's got some information on a building behind him. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Arthur Edler. I was born and raised here in 1923, and I had 5 sisters, and I had 1 brother, and we were all born here. And my dad had a barber shop in the basement, on this west end, and also on the other end there's a pool hall in the basement, and upstairs he had the grocery store and an ice cream parlor. And we lived in the back of the house, and our living quarters were upstairs and bedrooms.
Okay.
And
now,
and it was after my dad went out of it, he had rented to Holden, and I forget all the other people that went into the place after we left.
Okay.
And we moved out of here in 1937. That we left.
Okay. Now, you mentioned all these things that were in all the different floors.
Yeah.
Was there a reason that we had all this areas occupied? Or some of you talked about a barber shop. Is that also?
There was a barber shop right in this front corner.
Okay.
And there was windows. I believe there was a picture that I gave to somebody here of that barber shop where there's a Schambrook was in the barber chair at the time. And I think I guess Marie said there was her mother was sitting there, yeah.
And her mother.
Yeah, Beatrice.
Okay.
And the room right next to it, there was a pool hall.
Okay. Now I'm going to pinpoint some areas. Well, you said the barber shop was on this corner here.
Where these 2 windows are, right on this end here.
Yes.
That's where there was a door and the steps going down.
Okay. Oh.
That's when it went right into the barber shop.
Okay.
And in front of these willow windows there was a row of windows.
Okay.
That were out in the open. I think there was a picture of someone had a picture of that at one time. And then the opposite side,
yes,
there was a row of windows too, and that took care of where the pool hall was.
Okay, and that pool hall was a place where people could come to only play pool, or could they drink or have a?
There was no drinks at
no drink.
Unless they were moonshine. Okay. There could have been at that time.
Whatever prompted to build a pool hall? That's unusual, wasn't it?
I don't recall why he had the pool hall there. I just remember that there was one. And,
okay.
And then upstairs he had one side was part of an ice cream parlor.
Really?
And then he had the grocery stores in the same building, same part. One side was ice cream, and the other side was a grocery store.
Okay. So this is on the upper floor? Or
right up on the upper floor. When you go in the front door.
Yes. Now, the steps that we see in front,
that's all been changed.
That's all been changed?
Yes.
Okay.
that was all changed when this first street went through.
Okay.
And they dug out and then made the store much higher. So they had to put a porch out in front at the time.
Okay.
And they were also in the front, there were all big picture windows of the store.
Okay. Where you could display or
that's right.
Advertise or put a product out in front or
Right.
something? Okay. And what kind of products do you recall selling at the store in the grocery part of it?
Oh, anything in groceries. And main thing, we got bread from the White House Bakery that was shipped in with the railroad.
Okay.
And we'd go down to the depot by Joe Sedlock and pick up the box of bread and bring it over to the store. And that was always about 5 o'clock in the morning or early in the morning.
So this train came at a certain schedule?
The morning train. That was always had a little piece of bread on it, bread and bakery.
Okay.
And that's what we have to go over. We had a little cart. We'd go over and haul that little cart home and into the store, and that was for the day's bakery.
Okay.
And we used to get, we used to go to Sheboygan and get fruit and vegetables. And at one time we changed the store to IGA store.
Okay.
And what happened after that, I really don't recall.
Okay. As far as canned products, you had that?
All canned goods or any kind of products. We're a regular grocery store.
Okay. Milk and things like that also?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Did you get anything from Matthias Dairy at that time? Or?
Yes.
Oh,
Matthias
really?
Dairy, the chocolate milk. You come in pint bottles for a nickel.
Okay, for a nickel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So when you sold the milk in these bottles,
Yeah.
then they had to return those bottles?
Those bottles are all returned.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And did you yourself work in the store?
I helped along with the grocery stocking shelves and that.
Okay.
Whatever I didn't know because I wasn't quite that old yet.
Okay, how old were you when you were living here with the store at that time?
I was born in 1924.
All right.
23 rather.
Okay.
1923, and then we moved out of the store in 1937.
Okay.
And we moved out.
All right. And your job was stocking shelves
Yeah,
and
my
cleaning up?
brother and I, and
Okay.
also keeping we had a big steam heat for in the furnace. We
Yes.
used to go down and get railroad ties and saw railroad ties for heat because during the Depression days,
Ah.
things were pretty tough in the Depression days. Them
Okay.
days. And I remember my brother and I used to walk along the railroad track and pick up coal just to keep the furnace going.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
So,
Now, as far as Depression days, did they ever talk about when the difficulties of the people to pay for their goods?
oh yes, there was a big lot of charge accounts that people went through bankruptcy, and
Yes.
but there's certain people around that had large bills, and after Depression, they actually come back and paid up quite a bit.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't forget about you
No,
guys, huh?
No, and
Now, as far as obtaining all the other products, did you get them delivered by some truck arrangement? Came to your store to drop it off?
some brought it, but we had a Model A Ford truck. We'd go to Sheboygan and pick up a load, whatever we needed, and come back again.
Okay. Now, I'll go into...
Eggs and potatoes and bananas.
Okay.
We had trouble with the bananas. We used to get them in a long, tall, high crate. But I always had trouble with spiders in them.
Oh, really?
Banana spiders.
Oh,
They were
tarantulas or
dangerous.
something
Yeah,
like
they
that?
were dangerous.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And they'd be in the bananas?
And in with bananas, you always have to take them outside because the bananas would be packed in a crate in hay.
Ah.
And then we'd pull the bananas out of the crate and we'd do it all outside, so we sure would have the big spiders in the house.
Holy
Store.
man.
There's some large spiders at the time.
Holy cow. Okay.
You were there till what year?
Pardon?
Till what year were you there?
From 1923 on, I was. My dad, I believe my dad built a store in 1918.
Okay, he built this store?
He built a store in 1918.
Okay.
And then I've had 5 sisters that helped along, and I had 1 brother.
Okay. All right.
My oldest sister was Margie, and she was married to a Joe Schwer. And my
Okay.
second sister was Ruth. She got married to Arnold Portman. And the next one was Laverne. She got married to Art Burl. Then my brother was older than me, and then he was married to Doris Belt. And then my age, and I got married. I got married to a Delilah Kister from Sheboygan, and
Okay.
then his sister after that got married to a Delbert Kister.
Okay.
And then the younger sister, the one that died first, was married to a Peterman,
All right.
to George Peterman.
Okay.
She was the first one that passed away.
Okay, I got to...
The
Okay, go
family
ahead.
that's left yet are, I got 2 sisters left and 1 brother that's
All right.
left yet.
Okay.
All the rest.
Okay, now I'll just switch gears for a little bit in a different area, but the meats that you sold here are also, I presume?
Yes.
Okay, where did that come from? Locally from the meat market here in town, or do you remember?
I don't recall just where you picked it up.
Okay.
Because there's a butcher shop right a block over. It was R.C. Pippert.
Okay. Okay, very good. And just to get a little personal, are your parents buried in this area?
No, they're all buried in Sheboygan.
In Sheboygan, okay.
Yes.
I just assumed maybe that because they originated here that they might be also have been buried here.
Those large cedar trees on the east side building there, those are planted by us.
Oh, really?
Those trees are old.
Oh.
Those are recalled planted. When they were small trees then.
Okay.
And they figured they'd be small trees and they kept on growing.
Growing.
They're higher, much higher in the building now.
Okay, now as far as the living quarters upstairs, that's where you lived, right?
The two windows right up the top here were two big living rooms.
Okay.
They were like called living rooms, and then toward the back was always, I think we had four bedrooms back there.
Okay. Okay, and you had to sleep with your brother, I presume, right?
Oh, yes. No.
Okay.
They slept together, double ups.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. As a question, he'll identify himself, please.
I'm Fred Jacoby. I was wondering, of Mr. Edler, did your father continue in the grocery business in Sheboygan then? Did he?
No. No, yeah, we just got done the barbering.
Okay.
Yeah, he more or less retired being a barber.
Okay.
He worked a barber for, and he also worked at Grand Hotel as a night clerk, as a part-time job at the time, till he retired and gave everything up.
Boy, he had a lot of jobs. He had
Yes.
he had a business. He had a barber shop. And he did the actual barbering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Barbering and worked at a hotel as a night clerk.
Okay, and this hotel, you mentioned the name, but where was that?
The Grand Hotel, and also the Festi Hotel.
That's in Milwaukee?
No, in Sheboygan.
Oh, really? Oh.
All those buildings are already tore down and rebuilt, and there are none of those buildings left anymore.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Now, as far as we'll go into your personal life a little bit. You were working here, helping stock shelves, as you indicated, and then you went on to school and so forth.
Yes.
What happened?
In '37, then I worked for William C. Hartree. He had a big summer home on the lake north of Hika.
Okay, what lake would that be? On Lake Michigan?
Lake Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
And I worked there in the summer months. And then winter I went down to Evanston, Illinois with him. And I stayed down there, and I went to school down there.
Okay.
In Evanston. And I was about 15 years old at that time.
Wow.
And then I also knew Louis DeRoche. He had a big summer home north of Pigeon Fisher Creek.
Okay.
That he was a friend of the fellow I worked for.
Okay.
He was they were both large attorneys in Chicago.
All right. And
So after that, I was in World War II for 3.5 years. I was in the Navy.
okay.
In South Pacific, all the way up to the Luzon Straits. So I was on a small ship, a yard freighter.
Okay.
And after service, I got back. My brother and I opened up a filling station on 10th and Geely in Sheboygan.
Okay.
And after that wasn't going too good after 1946, things were pretty tough. So then I worked at Woolworth Company for a couple of years. And after that, I went into Highlight Machine. I worked there for 35 years as a machinist and got to be supervisor and foreman.
Good.
So that's where I retired from.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very
That's
much.
about-
That's good. Question for the gentleman. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I would like to know, Mr. Edler, when I was a small girl, when we went to the grocery store, the man would get all our groceries, and we didn't have a cart or anything. Was it that way in your store
That's right.
also?
We'd go around and whatever the people wanted, we'd go to the shelves, pick it out, bring it to the counter, and that's where they wrote out the slip and paid for it.
Yeah. And then he had a long stick, and then it was cereal, and they would snap
with,
it
with a clamp down.
with the clamp on the end.
Or we'd have a little ladder, run up the ladder so we wouldn't fall down.
So nobody meandered around your store to
No.
pick out anything?
No, they come up to the counter and they'd tell you what you want, we'd have to go get it.
Okay. Wow, that's personal service.
That was personal service, yes.
Very good. Very
Very
good.
hard on the storekeeper. He had to do all the work because you just stood there with your list and read off. You don't remember that? Oh, you do.
Of course I know that. I especially remember the Saltburgs.
Okay, let's go back to you, sir.
I knew he was. Well, I'm Fred Jacoby talking about picking up things. I especially remembered at Saltburgs because of that big store. Mrs. Saltburg just run her legs off. And but here I remember when Pytels were in, when you were waiting while one customer was completing his purchase, people would walk around and pick up an armful of things, and, while they were waiting to be taken care of.
Self-serve.
By the time Pytel was there, but that store wasn't so big, But
okay, very good.
But Saltenberg's was a big store, and
Well, I remember
Very
Mr.
good.
Pytel.
There's a question or two for the
Yeah.
guest of honor here.
Richard Wiegand. First thing I want to mention is my dad's sister Anita was married to Willard Kister. So we got some connections with the Kisters. That's the Howard School.
That was a different history.
It was a different Kister.
They weren't related.
Oh, they weren't? Okay, all right. Just wanted to clear that up.
Okay, okay, very good.
Second thing is,
Yes.
when did Reuben Prowl start barbering here in Reuben and Rosie? see.
Sunday morning.
They were in this building, I think.
No, they were in the block over, right next to Pippert's butcher shop.
They never were here.
No, no.
Okay, I had the impression.
That was June Thrall and his wife Rosie.
Right, they were over there. Yeah, I remember that, but I don't remember hearing
Yeah,
it.
they had their own barber shop right next to the butcher shop.
Okay.
Do you remember that they had a Chautauqua down there on that side once, on the other side of your shop?
Oh, pardon?
A Chautauqua. You know what that is?
What is that, Marie?
Oh, like a fair
Oh, yeah.
years ago, like a carnival.
Oh, yeah?
They had one right in the field there.
Okay.
Dominic Wagner's lot. Dominic Wagner's yard.
I got a question also in regard to the hair cutting. Nowadays, everybody calls on the phone, makes an appointment to be there at a certain time of the day. What was it like when barbering years ago?
Excuse me, they come in and wait. They wait their turn.
Okay.
And whenever they come in, they sit down and wait for the next one. And they wouldn't have taken a number, so they just had to watch who come in next. And that's the way it went. And mostly haircut and a shave, or haircut, neck shave, and what the works.
Okay. Okay. But you really didn't have a timeline how long it was going to take, huh?
No. The haircuts were 25 cents at that time.
25 cents. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
And I think it was a shave was 15 cents.
Okay. Now, did your dad cut your hair there too?
Oh, yes. Yes.
I would hope he did, yeah?
Oh, yes. I still do a little bit of it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, just for the family.
Okay. Did he try to teach you something as far as?
We all had a little practice with it.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute. We got a question over here.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and I want to know, when the men came, did they bring their own barber mug along in with their own brush? Or did they store it here in the barber shop? No. Your dad used it?
They always had one.
They always had one, okay.
No, that was always a nice feeling when they used to do that by prawl. We always went to prawl.
Towels over your face.
Yeah, yeah. And that warm mug with that.
Yep.
That was very nice. Okay, very good. Thank you. Raised her hand, and she's wanting to talk a little bit. Go right ahead.
I'm Alice Mathias. I have a question for Mr. Edler. Art, I got a question for you. Your dad, you said, was the night clerk at the Grand Hotel?
Yes.
And he was, God rest his soul, but that was supposed to be my husband's friend. He called up, this would have been in October of 1950, I don't know what day, to reserve a room at the Grand Hotel for us. We were married on the 14th, and we were married in Manitowoc, and we first got to the hotel, I don't know what time, say midnight maybe, and your dad had given up that room because he thought we weren't coming anymore. And we got a real crummy room. He was going to reserve, it was Willie's friend, I mean, he knew your dad, and he was going to see to it that we got a nice honeymoon suite or whatever they'd call it.
Well, he thought maybe you went parking someplace, I presume, huh?
Because when he said he was a night clerk at the Grand Hotel, and that would be probably in the 50s, right, when he was that, because I know it was Edler.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Please.
I'm Dorothy Anderson, and Holden's, who moved into the place after Edler. Verla Holden lives in California, and my sister and she write email to each other.
Oh, okay.
And her husband's in home.
Okay, all right. But they rented.
Holden's bought it after you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
So Verla's nice to marry him.
Okay, thank you. And in an unusual learning area here for history, we got hands-on, as they call it, hands-on history. And maybe Richard or Kathy can take and give us a little recap. Go right ahead, please.
I'll start. This is Richard Wiegand. We started this evening our West Washington Avenue walk, or ride, I should say, and our intention was to get farther than we did. We didn't even make it to the railroad tracks, and we have to backtrack. We got to go back here again when we start the next time.
Okay.
We did start. We did start at Westview.
Okay, that's right.
We got almost a mile from there to the tracks, I guess. Anyway, we covered quite a bit of territory tonight with all the businesses and the houses up and down Washington Street, and I won't go through all that because
Okay.
it's just too much. But
All right.
we're going to have to pick this up again another time and see if we can start there and get around and maybe get to the
Get
end
into
of
the other
Hickory
area
Street.
along the
Yeah,
tracks.
get
Okay.
the main streets here taken care of.
All right.
So,
Thank you. And Kathy has some surprise for us also. She can mention that, okay?
We'll have a snack after we get back to the village hall. We're going to have our snack right on here tonight.
Okay.
So, because I'm getting hungry. I don't know
Me
about the
too.
rest of you. And I want to thank everyone for coming, particularly Mr. Adler and Mr. Keither and Ms. Johnson. It was very nice of you to come, and we do hope you join us again and hope you enjoyed it.
Very much.
Okay,
So-
that's very good. Thank you, Kathy. And I think what we'll do, I'll start over, I'll go on the other side, but we'll come back to you, Mr. Edler. And you can identify yourself again, please, and indicate your thoughts for the evening. Just a short thought.
Well, I'm Fred Jacoby, and I enjoyed this very much. And I think that one of my favorite things was when I used to bother Irene at the hardware store.
Okay. Okay, very good. And you, sir, would you like to make a comment in your name, please?
Armin Keeter from Manitowoc. This was one of the most unique experiences in oral history that I think I've encountered in my life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And you, ma'am?
Sarah Johnson, and I don't know if I can top that comment, but also from Manitowoc, and this was a very enjoyable and very informative
Very good. Thank you very much. And who do you have here, please?
Dorothy Anderson, and I never knew too much about, I lived in Hika, and we went to the grocery store down there, so I didn't get into Edler's very often.
Mhm.
And otherwise, I'm more acquainted down below.
Okay, very good. And you, ma'am?
I'm Dolores Crest. Well, I wasn't brought up around in this village here, so I really can't say too much about it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And would I have here, please? Thank you.
I'm Alice Mathias. I remember a few little things, picking up eggs at Bailiff's, wherever that, was it on this side of the thing? Yeah, I never liked going in there, but we always went to get our eggs there.
Okay, very good.
Stinky.
Icky, yeah. Okay, I'm going to pan over here, and this gentleman always comes through for me. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Walter Crescent. It was a very interesting evening. We learned a lot tonight.
Very good, thank you. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Edith Litzy, and I think it was very informative. And Jerry is doing a very good job with this, asking a few extra questions, so it's to bring out a lot of extra stuff, yeah.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Marie Pippin. Well, everybody knows that I was born out here. The whole village knows that. Next time we'll have to pick up, we left up by Dr. Reiner.
Yes, yes, very good.
Good.
Your comments tonight were very much appreciated too, Marie.
Oh, well, thank you.
And who do you have here, please?
Irene Dine,
Irene.
and my thought is Frederick was not the only one.
Frederick was not the only one.
Yes.
Everybody did it. They give you a hard time, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And myself, Jerry O'Neill, I was the videographer, and I'm happy to do this. This is very unique, as Richard mentioned. And we have a gentleman here who is at the end of the line, and he can identify himself and give his comments.
I'm Arthur Edler, and I enjoyed this greatly, and I remember a lot of things about the village of Cleveland. It was a small brat around Cleveland in all kind of trouble, but I managed to get through it.
Good. Well, thank you for...
We had the big firehouse right across the street,
Yes.
the old one, that, which is changed right now. So, and big ice skating pond where you used to fall in.
Okay.
For ice skating. So that's about it for now.
Well, you must have enjoyed your years here in Cleveland.
I did.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm Kathy Sixel, and I want to thank Charlie and Jerry for making this night possible. That's who got our fancy wagon that we're on tonight. So thank you, Charlie and Jerry, for doing the videoing.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Thank you. We had a gentleman who took it on with his vehicle, and he provided all the pilotage that we needed, and he landed safely with the load.
Yes, Charlie Bauer, and this is the best group of kids I ever had in the bus. We'll make a quick trip back up to the village for a little lunch.
Okay, very good. Thanks for helping us out, Charlie.
Well, you know a lot of how to scroll. I know a lot of how to
So
scroll.
how many feet of film did you?
Well, they always say there's about a mile of film on one of these reels, so I think we got about 3/4 mile used up tonight. Here on the wagon that from Harold Borkert. And we got back to the senior center here at almost 7:30. And we had a great time on the wagon and everybody enjoyed it. Now we're going to have a bite to eat, and which is supplied by Kathy Sixel. Everybody got a little chilly at the end. We had a long siege, but the comforts were there. We enjoyed it.